As your flight change the weather, and I promise forever. Oh, my God.
Stephanie Ingram appeared to live an ordinary life. She was a wife, a mother, and someone trying to navigate her own independence in a changing world. But behind the privacy of her home, a quiet tension was growing, one that no one seemed to notice until it was far too late. When Stephanie decided to create an OnlyFans account, it was, to her, a personal choice, one that would unknowingly set off a chain of events leading to a moment no one could undo. Neighbors would later say they never heard any loud arguments, no visible signs of danger. Yet inside the walls of their home, something had shifted. A decision had been made. The morning she uploaded her first post,
I just want to say, being an adult fucking sucks. It fucking sucks. I'm over it. Everybody is liars, cheaters, some type of abusers. Like, this shit fucking sucks. Think you love somebody and they do you dirty in the worst way? This ain't the type of grown-up life I was expecting.
she uploaded her first post. Her life was still normal, but by nightfall, everything had changed. What happened between those hours remains a question that investigators, family members, and online observers continue to analyze. Was it jealousy? Was it control? Or was there something deeper? Something that had been building long before OnlyFans ever entered the picture? This is a story of Stephanie Ingram, a woman whose pursuit of independence ended in the most final way possible. But the details of how it all unfolded will make you question everything you think you know about relationships, secrecy, and the dangers of digital exposure. If you are drawn to true crime stories that reveal hidden truths, we invite you to subscribe. Your support enables us to share real cases, raise awareness, and give a voice to those who can no longer speak for themselves. Before we begin, tell us in the comments where you are watching from, and share your thoughts as the story unfolds. Welcome to Spotlight Crime, a place where we examine cases that shake communities and reveal what often remains hidden behind closed doors. Real stories, real people, real impact. Subscribe today and turn on notifications so you won't miss what comes next. Stephanie Ingram was a 32-year-old woman living in Houston, Texas. She worked part-time as a medical assistant while raising her young daughter.
Oh, you stuck? No. Yes, you are. Go up or come down. Come on. Can you get down? No. I know you can't. I know you can't. And she will just be stuck right there until somebody comes because she's too scared to go down the stair, but she'll climb up one.
Friends describe her as private, structured, and disciplined in her routine. She maintained a modest lifestyle and preferred staying at home rather than socializing frequently. Her family background was stable. She came from a small, supportive household that emphasized hard work and self-reliance. After high school, Stephanie pursued a healthcare certification course and secured steady employment. She married her husband, Anthony Thornton, in her late 20s, and they had been together for nearly 5 years. In the months leading up to the event, subtle changes began to appear in her life. She started spending more time online, exploring new social media spaces, and creating separate accounts apart from her main profiles. Her phone usage increased, and her close friends later recalled that she was curious about finding ways to express herself more freely. Stephanie had recently become interested in content creation. She followed online influencers who spoke about financial independence and self-confidence. Around this period, she mentioned to one friend the idea of creating an OnlyFans account, though she expressed uncertainty about it. Privacy was a concern for her. She wanted to manage her image carefully without drawing unnecessary attention. Despite her cautious nature, the thought of financial control and personal autonomy seemed to appeal to her. She wanted to support herself and possibly build savings without relying completely on her husband's income. Why would Stephanie feel the need to seek another form of expression online? Was she aware of the potential risks involved in taking that step? Anthony Thornton, Stephanie's husband, worked as a warehouse technician. He was known among neighbors as polite but reserved. The marriage appeared stable from the outside, but those close to Stephanie noticed quiet signs of strain. Friends later stated that Anthony had become increasingly controlling about financial decisions. He often questioned her social activity and discouraged her from going out alone. Stephanie's phone habits reportedly caused frequent arguments, and she began keeping parts of her personal life private to avoid confrontation. The couple's relationship followed a common pattern: early affection, followed by growing distance and frequent disagreements. Stephanie's co-workers describe her as quiet when discussing home life, often deflecting questions about her marriage. At the same time, she seemed to be exploring more independence, gradually pushing back against restrictions. Jealousy reportedly played a role in their arguments. Anthony had expressed discomfort with her posting photos on social media, and he frequently checked her online accounts. Friends said that over time, Stephanie began using private usernames and hidden profiles. Financial control was another point of tension. Anthony managed most of the household expenses, while Stephanie's part-time income contributed to smaller bills. This imbalance created dependency that frustrated her. She often told friends she wanted something of her own, a project or income source that belonged entirely to her. Was there an early indication that this relationship was turning dangerous? Did anyone recognize the red flags before it was too late? By late March, Stephanie made the decision to open an OnlyFans account. Her reasons appeared practical rather than emotional. She viewed it as a controlled business venture, a way to earn side income without leaving her home or changing her work schedule. She began by creating anonymous content, using a pseudonym and concealing her identity. Her intention was to maintain separation between her online persona and her real life. She kept this activity secret from Anthony, fearing his reaction. The timeline suggests that her account went live only a few weeks before the incident. She posted minimal material, photos that were suggestive but not explicit. To her, it was an experiment, one that might lead to greater independence. At some point, Anthony discovered her OnlyFans profile. Investigators later indicated that he may have found links or screenshots shared through social media. The discovery led to immediate confrontation. What began as an argument over secrecy and money soon escalated into a deeper conflict about control and trust. Witnesses reported hearing raised voices days before the event, though no police report was filed. Stephanie continued going to work as usual, but she appeared distracted and withdrawn. Was the discovery of her account the breaking point, or had the tension existed long before? Could this confrontation have been avoided if someone had intervened earlier? The timeline of the day remains central to understanding what happened. On the morning of April 5th, Stephanie went about her normal routine. She dropped off her daughter at a relative's home and returned to the house she shared with Anthony. Phone records show she exchanged several brief text messages that morning, none indicating distress. At approximately 3 p.m., Anthony returned home earlier than expected. Neighbors later stated they heard voices inside the house, but could not make out details. By 4 p.m., Stephanie stopped responding to calls and messages. Investigators believe an argument began shortly after Anthony's arrival. It revolved around her online activity and what he perceived as betrayal. There were no witnesses to the final confrontation. The evidence indicates a sudden escalation rather than a prolonged struggle. Neighbors reported a short burst of noise, followed by silence. What exactly happened in those final minutes? Was there an opportunity for de-escalation, or was the outcome already inevitable? Later that evening, relatives attempted to reach Stephanie. When she failed to answer, a family member visited the home and found the door locked. Authorities were called shortly after 7 p.m. Inside, police discovered Stephanie unresponsive in the living room area. The scene indicated a violent confrontation. The weapon was recovered nearby. Anthony was not present when officers arrived. He was located several hours later at a friend's residence and taken into custody without resistance. During questioning,
I've done things in my life. I'm not perfect.
Anthony admitted to the confrontation, but claimed it got out of control. He expressed anger over her OnlyFans involvement, calling it disrespectful to their marriage. Investigators confirmed that his statements align with the timeline of digital evidence found on both their phones. The forensic team collected physical evidence, including the weapon, clothing, and mobile devices. Digital records from Stephanie's social media and OnlyFans accounts were reviewed to establish motive. Media coverage quickly amplified the story, emphasizing connection between her online activity and the fatal outcome. The public response sparked debate about privacy, jealousy, and control within relationships. Did the husband plan this act, or was it impulsive? What details in the investigation revealed the truth behind that final confrontation? The Stephanie Ingram case illustrates how private tensions can evolve quietly until a single decision exposes deeper fractures. Her attempt to gain autonomy intersected with a partner's need for control, resulting in irreversible consequences. Each detail, from her cautious online exploration to the moment of discovery, reflects a progression of secrecy, suspicion, and escalating conflict. Viewers are left to consider not only what happened inside that home, but also the broader issue: how hidden pressures within relationships can transform ordinary choices into fatal outcomes. When independence and control collide behind closed doors, how often do warning signs go unseen until it's too late? The investigation into Stephanie Ingram's death began within hours of the 911 call placed from the couple's home. Responding officers described a quiet suburban residence with no signs of forced entry, suggesting the suspect was someone familiar to the victim. Inside, investigators located Stephanie with multiple injuries consistent with a violent confrontation. The weapon used was recovered nearby, matching evidence of close-range contact. Detectives immediately focused on Stephanie's husband, who had remained at the scene. His initial statement was brief and inconsistent. He claimed it had been an argument that escalated unexpectedly, but forensic findings soon contradicted that narrative. There were no signs of self-defense injuries on him, but the victim showed evidence of struggle, indicating resistance. Digital forensics became a crucial part of the case. Investigators obtained access to both parties' phones, social media accounts, and email records. Stephanie's OnlyFans account, recently created, showed posts made less than 24 hours before her death. The husband's browser history revealed multiple searches related to her account, including attempts to identify subscribers and remove online content. Text messages between the couple in the days prior displayed growing tension, references to embarrassment, trust, and deception. Financial records also painted a picture of instability. The couple's shared bank account reflected recent disputes about spending and earnings. Investigators theorized that the OnlyFans account represented not only a personal boundary issue, but also a financial and control-related one. Interviews with family members and neighbors revealed a pattern of possessive behavior. Relatives reported that Stephanie had recently expressed fear about how her husband might react if he found out about her new online activity. Friends said she wanted independence and was seeking her own financial footing. Public interest in the case grew as details emerged about the connection to OnlyFans. Online communities quickly divided. Some focused on issues of privacy and autonomy, while others speculated on moral boundaries within relationships. For investigators, the motive appeared rooted in jealousy, humiliation, and a perceived loss of control. The husband's demeanor during interrogation shifted from defensive to resigned. Detectives noted inconsistencies between the story and the forensic timeline. The final piece came from surveillance footage near the residence, showing no other persons entering or leaving around the time of the incident. He was taken into custody within 3 days of the initial report and charged with second-degree murder. Prosecutors later upgraded it to first-degree murder after reviewing digital evidence that suggested premeditation. What motive makes the most sense? Jealousy, humiliation, or control? Was this act spontaneous or the result of calculated resentment? Did investigators reach a swift and fair conclusion, or was intent more complex than it appeared? The trial began nearly 10 months after the arrest. By then, media coverage had intensified, with headlines emphasizing the link between Stephanie's OnlyFans activity and her death. The prosecution presented a timeline supported by digital forensics, text messages, and witness testimony. They argued that the husband's actions were deliberate, sparked by jealousy and fear of public embarrassment. The defense countered that the event was a moment of emotional instability rather than premeditated intent. They introduced evidence of financial stress, marital arguments, and the defendant's mental health struggles. Their strategy aimed to reduce the charge to manslaughter by framing the incident as an impulsive reaction rather than a planned killing. Throughout the proceedings, the husband displayed minimal expression. Observers described him as detached and unreactive, rarely making eye contact with the jury. Prosecutors pointed to his calm behavior following the act as evidence of control rather than confusion. They highlighted how he remained at the scene, made no immediate attempt to aid the victim, and deleted several digital files before police arrived. The court also reviewed messages he sent to a friend, expressing anger and humiliation about Stephanie's online content. The prosecution framed these as proof of motive, connecting emotional volatility to a sense of ownership. Media outlets framed the trial as a reflection of modern digital relationships, how online exposure intersects with control and perception. Commentators debated whether the OnlyFans element was being overemphasized, possibly distracting from the broader issue of domestic violence and power imbalance. After several days of testimony, the jury found the husband guilty of second-degree murder. The court sentenced him to 35 years in prison without parole. Did the justice system handle this case fairly? Was the OnlyFans angle exaggerated by the media to create controversy? Would the same verdict have been reached without the social media component being publicized? Following the sentencing, Stephanie's family released a statement emphasizing the importance of awareness and digital safety. They urged others to recognize warning signs in controlling relationships and take concerns seriously, even when they appear subtle. The family declined to discuss the OnlyFans connection, stating that it distracted from the issue of violence and control. Online, the discussion evolved into a broader conversation about autonomy, privacy, and gender dynamics in the digital age. Supporters of Stephanie highlighted her case as an example of how personal decisions, especially involving online platforms, can expose individuals to heightened risks when trust and communication are absent. Others debated moral boundaries, questioning whether digital activity should influence perceptions of blame or sympathy. Psychologists and legal experts analyzed the case as part of a growing pattern, where digital expression clashes with traditional notions of control and reputation. Many pointed out that jealousy linked to online exposure has become a recurring motive in domestic crimes. What does this case reveal about modern relationships and hidden insecurities? How do privacy, independence, and perception intersect in the digital era? Could this tragedy have been prevented through communication, awareness, or intervention? The case of Stephanie Ingram became more than an isolated event. It served as a mirror reflecting societal discomfort with evolving definitions of privacy, independence, and control. Stephanie Ingram's death exposed a complex intersection between personal choice, digital exposure, and relationship dynamics. The facts show a sequence of decisions and reactions that escalated into irreversible violence. Investigators established a clear motive through digital forensics, communications, and behavioral patterns, leading to a conviction that fit the evidence presented. The husband's actions reflected a breakdown of control and communication, rather than an isolated act of rage. The trial underscored how technology continues to redefine relationships, where boundaries between personal freedom and perceived betrayal become blurred. As viewers reflect on the case, it raises questions about how individuals manage privacy, autonomy, and emotional balance in the modern age. When does privacy become danger? At what point does curiosity or independence become a perceived threat to someone else's control? And ultimately, how well do we really know the people closest to us, both online and behind? If this story has kept your attention, do not forget to like this video and share it with others. For more true crime stories that uncover the mysteries behind tragic events, subscribe to our channel and activate the notification bell to stay updated with our latest investigations, reports, and discussions. Thank you for joining us in the pursuit of truth and justice. Together, we can shed light where darkness remains. Until next time, stay safe and stay vigilant.